Brooklyn in the 40s was a place of bustling streets, tight-knit families, and dreams that stretched beyond the city skyline. Neil Sedaka was one of those dreamers. Born into a working-class Jewish family, he was a child prodigy, a boy whose small hands could coax melodies from the piano keys before he could even write his name properly. Recognizing his talent, his mother pushed him toward the prestigious Juilliard School, where he trained in classical music. By the time he reached high school, rock and roll had exploded onto the scene, and Neil was mesmerized. He wasn't just another kid in Brooklyn trying to make it big. He had the talent to back it up. Teaming up with lyricist Howard Greenfield, he started writing songs. Catchy, heartfelt, and perfect for the emerging teen pop audience. It wasn't long before his voice, smooth and youthful, became just as recognizable as his songwriting. But Brooklyn was full of talented kids chasing the same dream. One in particular caught Neil's attention, a girl whose musical ability was undeniable, a songwriter with a natural ear for melody and a gift for turning emotions into lyrics. She moved through the same circles he did, sitting at the same pianos, playing in the same recording studios. Neil couldn't ignore her. It started as admiration. She was different, driven, smart, and impossibly talented. She wasn't just another voice in the crowded halls of aspiring musicians. She was special. Neil noticed her confidence as she played the piano, the way her fingers moved effortlessly over the keys, as if she were born with the music inside her. He had seen plenty of songwriters, but something about this girl stood out. He found himself thinking about her more than he expected. The way she hummed a melody when she was deep in thought, how she scribbled lyrics in a notebook with the intensity of someone who knew she was destined for more. Neil had written dozens of songs by then, but he wanted to write one for her, something sweet, something that would let her know exactly how he felt. So he did. In 1959, he released Ooh, Carol. It was a tender pop tune, filled with teenage longing and admiration, wrapped in a melody that was impossible to forget. The song soared up the charts, making Neil Sedaka a household name. But for him, the real success wasn't just the record sales, it was knowing she had heard it. And she did. Neil had expected her to be flattered, maybe even impressed, but what he hadn't expected was for her to write back, not in words, but in music. Shortly after the success of Oh Carol, a song called Oh Neil surfaced. It was playful, teasing, and unmistakably directed at him. The lyrics, co-written with her songwriting partner, were a tongue-in-cheek response to his affection, poking fun at his love-struck words while proving that she was more than capable of holding her own. Neil was stunned. He had known she was talented, but this was something else. The exchange became a legendary moment in pop music history, a public yet light-hearted back and forth between two young songwriters whose names were only just beginning to make waves. But while Neil continued his rise as a pop star, her path took a different turn. Years passed, and the girl who had once been the subject of Neil's song had transformed into something much bigger than he had ever imagined. She had become one of the most sought-after songwriters in the industry, crafting hit after hit for some of the biggest artists in the world. Neil watched as her songs climbed the charts, her lyrics sung by voices far and wide. She was no longer just a promising talent in Brooklyn, she was shaping the very fabric of popular music. Then, in 1971, she did something unexpected. She stepped out from behind the curtain and took center stage herself. With the release of her album Tapestry, she redefined what it meant to be a singer-songwriter. Songs like It's Too Late and You've Got a Friend became instant classics, and suddenly the world knew her not just as a songwriter, but as an artist in her own right. It was then that Neil saw her in a new light, not just as the girl he once admired, but as Carole King, one of the most influential musicians of all time. Their paths had crossed in the innocence of youth in the halls of Brooklyn high schools and the studios of the Brill Building. Their playful musical exchange had been nothing more than a moment in time, but it had foreshadowed something greater, a connection between two artists whose legacies would be forever intertwined.